Very
Thanks.
nice. How was your week?
My week was good, sure, was good. Uh, Normal, I would say. I work, I go to the gym. The, in occasions I have like uh, yeah, like a routinary week, you know. So,
Right.
so yeah, I would say that was great. What about you?
But that's fantastic. I was just reading. I started to listen to a book, the audiobook of a book that probably you've heard or You've read Atomic Habits.
Mhm. Yeah.
Have you seen it or maybe read it?
To be honest, I listened an audiobook of that book too. Yeah.
Yeah, I started to listen to the audiobook. It's a great audiobook. And talking
Hmm.
about habits, it's a great thing. It's a great resource, and it's a fantastic thing to be able to acquire new habits and to get rid of bad ones. Because I mean, sometimes it's fortunate, but we need to admit that sometimes we have bad habits. I have the bad habit of going to bed late. I'm trying to remove it to get rid of that because then I have to wake up sometimes early, not always, but sometimes.
Yeah.
And it's always better to go to bed early and wake up early than go to bed late and wake up late.
Absolutely. Yeah, you feel completely different. And well, I think that it is important to go to bed early, but that you really have like a good rest too. Because in occasions, yeah, you go to bed early, but you don't feel like you recover completely. And I think that is for different reasons. In occasions, we have like stress, we have other factors that affect or or sleeping in general. And when you don't sleep well, I think that your performance in your activities is completely different than when you sleep correctly.
Yeah, that is absolutely true. And one of the things that I was listening to, and today I found a summary about it,
Mhm.
is that a 1% improvement in anything leads to significant gains over time. What's your take on this, Mickey? What do you think about this? How could it be measured? For example, you say, I want to increase my performance by 1% in any topic that you like. How would you do it? How would you measure it?
Like your improvement in general.
In general, in anything. Let's say I want
Hmm.
to earn 1% more money this month. I
Hmm.
want to uh, increase my social network 1%. I
Hmm.
want to, I mean, increase the weight that I lift in the gym. Whatever you want to increase, it doesn't matter, whatever it is. But how do you get 1% more?
Hmm. Um, well, it is important to, at least in my point of view, it is always important to keep in mind the goal that we want to achieve. Um, and create or make like little tasks that gonna help us to reach that goal. I think that the issue in occasions is that we tend to feel like we are not doing correctly or that we have failures if we don't achieve it. But I think that at the end, uh, the then's when to start when begins the how do you say this, like the consistency in general, that when you are really putting an effort constantly, sooner or later it is possible that you're going to achieve it, and if not, it is okay because at least you try it. I think that the issue starts when you don't try something.
Okay, very interesting. How would you measure a 1% increment? Maybe it doesn't have to be daily, let's say weekly or monthly. But how do you
Mhm.
measure it? How do you know that you have increased your performance in anything by
In anything.
1%? How is it possible to measure it?
Yeah, I think that depending, obviously, depending in which in which goal or in what we want to ship. But for example, this is a easy example. When you go to the gym and you are lifting kind of specific weight, you can little by little increase like the reps that you're doing, and then there's gonna be a moment when the reps that in the beginning was difficult to make now are like much easier because you gain more strength, in occasions more muscle. So you can see that when you increase the amount of reps that you're doing in a specific exercise, and you're gonna see it too when you need to increase the weight, because now the weight that you were using, um, how can I say this, is not, how can I say this, yeah, it's not taking like the same effort. Now you don't need too much effort to lift that weight, so that could be a way to measure in this case.
Okay, very interesting. Another issue that the book refers to, at least in the summary and in the audiobook that I was listening to last night, is that you need to focus, or we need to focus on systems, not on goals. What does that say to you? In other words, when they tell you don't think so much of the goal, but think of the process, what comes to your mind, and how would you apply it to your personal life, Mickey? Or any person could do that.
uh, yeah, I think that it's important to focus on the process more than in the goals, because if you don't enjoy the process, it's very possible that you're not gonna enjoy the goal that you're looking for, because then you're gonna look for something else. Instead, if you really understand the process, understand um, where you are stand for, where you want to go, what you need to do to go to that place or to that specific goal, I think that it's much easier, because you are focusing on the, how is it, like on the trajectory, not only
Okay,
on the finish line or on the goal. I would say that.
I see. So you focus on the path, the trajectory,
Yeah, the path. Uh-huh.
the trajectory, rather than the goal, right? Okay. How does that benefit a person if he succeeds? Obviously, if he doesn't succeed, he or she may get frustrated, right? He may feel that the path wasn't worth it. He didn't or she didn't reach the goal. But what if you reach it? Can a person be prevented from focusing on the goal if he starts being successful, which is a great thing and something to expect? You would be I mean, people would expect that we become healthier if I go swimming more often, or if you go to the gym more often, or if you do certain exercises more accurately. But how can I be prevented from focusing on the goal rather than the process? Not when I fail, but when I succeed. How would you do that?
Mm, how can I like focus just on the process instead of the goal?
Yeah,
Or
in
yeah.
the case that you succeed, because
Hmm.
if you fail, or if I
Hmm.
fail in something at the beginning, obviously eventually we're going to enjoy the process regardless of the result, right?
Hmm.
Working out,
Hmm.
going to swim,
Yeah.
reading, exercising, practicing some exercises in the piano, in the guitar, whatever. You
Hmm.
enjoy the process more than the outcome. um, I think it is easier. I mean, if you win, if you're constantly succeeding and winning, and which is fantastic, it's normal to focus more on the goal rather than the process. How can you prevent that and keep on focusing on the process more than the goal, even if you are constantly succeeding?
Hmm. Well, I would say that it's important to be humble. It doesn't matter of the succeed that we have achieved. I would say that when you maintain humble, you're aware that in occasions you're gonna win and others not, and that it's okay that, because at the end, through all life, we have different experiences, we have different um, trajectories or patterns to follow. And in occasions we're gonna succeed, and others just don't, and it's okay, because um, I think that it's important to have like a, how can I say it? It's like a student mind as much as possible, because there's gonna be always something that we need to learn or we need to practice, and and yeah, I think that it's something good to always have like something new to to practice or to do. So stay humble. I would say that will be the answer, because if we're not humble, it is much easier that we feel like stress or bad if we don't succeed.
Right. I like this word a lot. Humble versus conceit or even pride. Uh, how do you differentiate conceit from pride? In other words, it's normal that it's okay, I believe, to feel pride of something, to be proud. You're proud of your family. You're proud of your education. You're proud of your physical health. I mean, we are all proud of something, right? And proud. We are proud of something. So I am proud of, say, I'm proud of my family. I'm proud of some of the achievements that I've made. I'm proud of some of the aspects of my nation, of my country. I'm proud of many things. How do you distinguish proud from conceit? When is conceit not so valid or maybe a little bit vain? How would you choose
Mm,
pride over conceit?
that's a good question. um, I don't know. I think that in occasions the problem is like, bless you, we tend
Thanks.
to feel pride or proud, sorry, about things, the things that we do. And for example, I have met people that feel good when they are going good in their businesses or in their work, but when they're not like passing for the same, yeah, for I don't know, it's the same work, but they're not having the same opportunities, or they not feel, or they feel like stagnant in their work. They tend to feel bad, and they don't tend to feel pride or proud about what they're doing. So I would say that proud is must be like something just um, that we need to be proud of ourselves. It doesn't matter of mostly instead of be proud of what we are doing. I would say that I don't know how to express it, but yeah, like feel proud for what you are, not for what you're doing. But
That's
for
very interesting.
yeah,
Would you say then that feeling proud of some of oneself should be a more permanent state of mind, whereas conceit, if I'm conceited, um it can be more superficial, more shallow. Conceitment conceitment or conceit can be more trivial or more shallow, more superficial, more trivial or shallow. Maybe I am conceited when I don't know, when I something which is not so important, so deep, so meaningful for society or for others. I don't know. I'm not. I would say that I'm not normally a conceited person. That I show off or show
no,
off
me
for,
neither.
but I feel proud of many things, and
Hmm.
that's more like a permanent state of mind. Can
Hmm.
we probably say that conceit is more at a shallow or a trivial feeling about something? For example, a girl that has a new hairdo, or that she polished her nails, or that she's wearing a nice dress, which is okay to wear a nice dress and present nice, but maybe she has a friend that has a luxurious car, which is also not bad. But that's not the main thing for a person. It doesn't really represent who you are in the core. It's nice that you have a nice car, that you have a nice house, that you have nice clothing, but there are deeper things in life. What do you think about that, Mickey?
Yeah, exactly. And I think that the issue is that in occasions we put our pride in ourselves, but in the things that we have, like in the material things, in the new car, in the new watch, the new cell phone, in new house, in occasions, obviously. And I think that mm, that's the issue because in occasions that means that we are not truly proud of ourselves. We are truly of the things that we achieved, and there are things most important than material things in general. I would say, or family or ourselves is mostly more important than the achievements that we have made or
Yeah, there is
completed.
that's very true. What you say, I like a lot. Yeah, it's not that there's nothing wrong with getting nice things, right? But we should be proud of ourselves, not proud of the things that we attain with that. And they say that the more we brag, the more hollow we seem to be, right? Meaning that I'm not solid inside, but I'm kind of in a vacuum, right? So we don't have to brag about the things that we obtain or that we are. I mean, we know we have this pride internally, right? More or
Yeah.
less.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay. Well, okay, very good. I was just curious about the way people identify or distinguish these two words, conceit from pride, which, as I said, so many people feel this pride when they have a nice when they have become someone they have developed, they have grown to become more knowledgeable person, wiser people, more helping, more generous. I mean, stronger in not only in the physical way, but emotionally, in the character, etc.
Yeah. Hmm.
Okay, Mickey, thank you very much. Then
Thank you
let's
too.
see. Another of the items that the summary reveals is what is called identity-based habits. Can we read this and please share what you think about it, Mickey, please?
Yeah. Lasting change comes from shifting your identity. Instead of focusing on what you want to achieve, focus on who you want to become. Every action you take is a vote for the type of person you wish to be.
Okay, but how do you make the assessment? How do you want to become? How do you assess who you want to become, or how you want to be? How you want to be? In other words, there is a great book which I'd like you eventually, maybe in a few minutes, to look up the summary of this fantastic book by a German writer called Narziss und Goldmund. It's a great book in the sense that they are two friends. It
Hmm.
was written by Hermann Hesse, a
Hmm.
great German writer that won the Nobel Prize in the 50s, I think.
Hmm.
And this book refers to two friends that have total opposite personalities. Narcissus is very ascetic, very spiritual, very self-centered in the sense that he's very pure, let's say Puritanian, whereas Goldmund is very mundane, very terrestrial, very uh, passionate, ambitious. He's got all the human traits, total opposite to Narcissus, who's his friend, who is like very spiritual, and Goldmund very mundane. And the book is a great book because it refers to how the influence of one to another makes the other become a little bit like the friend. In other words, Narcissus becomes a little bit more mundane, and Goldmund with time becomes a little bit more spiritual. It's a fantastic book. It's probably one of my favorite books because it talks about two friends who are total opposites, but they influence the other friend to become more like him, and vice versa. We look for the summary in a minute. What do you think of this concept, Mickey?
Of the importance of people in your influences.
Yeah, and who we want to become. First of all, the first question, which is not easy to understand, who are we and who do we want to become? How do we want to evolve? And most of all, are we conscious of that? Sometimes we're not very conscious of that. Maybe I was grown as a rebellious. Maybe I was a little bit rebellious when I was a kid. And finally, at my 30s, maybe 40s, I found out that being rebellious about against everything was maybe not the easiest path, right? I wanted to challenge the status quo every time, but why? Why this? Why can it not be the other way? What in constant clash, even almost conflict with people, with situations, with ideas. And then eventually I started to reflect, well, maybe if I become more aligned, more friendly with people, with situations, with with everything. So I decided to make a little bit of an evolution. Oh, I was not
Mhm.
that young then. I was maybe in my 30s, but people can do that at their 20s. But is that possible? Maybe when our personality is not fully developed. What do you think about this concept of the evolution of your personality, the evolution of your being, of the self? Evolution, self.
Yeah, it's a good question. I think that uh, we're always we're always in a constantly changing. We're
Okay.
always changing in general, in our way of thinking, in our way of acting, and I think that so many in I would say the majority of the cases or all the cases are because we have been influenced for an external uh, of an external influence in occasions of friends or family, uh, work, society in general, and yeah, I think that the majority of people is not aware of who really are, and it is an important issue, and I would say that I'm in this process because in occasions I act or I react or I think in a specific way, but I don't really analyze why I think in that way. So, um, so yeah, it is difficult, but I think that the first step is being aware and try to understand why we act or why we react or why we talk in a specific way and try to in occasions have like an open mind in general. I would say that's the better way to see who we really are and probably who we're gonna in the future who we're gonna be.
Right. And it doesn't have to be that we are unsatisfied. It can be the other way around. Maybe you're proud of who you have becoming, who you have become. Maybe you say, "Well, I'm happy with the life that I've gotten, the family, the surrounding, my friends." Is not always and almost never an easy or automatic process. Maybe it
Mhm.
was due to the good decisions that your parents took. Maybe they say, "Well, let's." Uh, relate our kids, our children, with a good atmosphere, good friends, good neighbors, good schools, good this, and yet, even with the best intention of parents, my parents, your parents, our parents, grandparents, etc., there are always people in our lives that do not provide maybe the best influence. Maybe I had a friend that I invited to my home one time when I was in primary school, and he was a really bad kid. He started to he started to steal things from my brothers. He stole a camera, then he took my mother's checkbook, he forged her signature. Then it was terrible. I felt so bad for years of having brought this young kid. It was in primary, he was 11 years old, and to this day I feel so bad because he caused so much damage to the family. I mean, my brother had been saving money for 2 years, I think, to buy a camera, and he stole it. Oh man, to this day I feel terrible. And how did I bring him home? Well, uh, he looked nice. He appeared to be very friendly. He was friendly. He had good manners, but his inner core was corrupt. So I says, how couldn't I find this out? Sometimes it's difficult because you're a kid. You're a 10, 11-year-old kid. How can you
Mhm.
know, right? So sometimes we have people, I have had people, I don't know about other friends, but how do you determine, even if you're very happy about your life, we can
Mhm.
still become better, can we not?
Yeah, yeah, of course.
How, I mean, maybe we are so proud, so happy that we don't need to, right? Life is good. Why should I worry? And it's valid. It's a valid concept,
Yeah, of course.
right? I mean, it's different if we were struggling, we didn't have food to eat, if we
Mhm.
lived in a violent environment, that would be totally different.
Yeah.
If we are happy, thank God, right? We thank God. How can we still improve, even if we're very happy or satisfied? with the life we've got from God? How can we still improve and analyze ourselves and say, well, I can make this evolution for the better. I can help my friends even more. Or how can we do this process? Because it's difficult to think of that when you are successful, when you are in the buoyancy, when you are in a good state.
No.
It's difficult to think of the problems, right? Because you have no problems. How do
Yeah.
people do that?
Yeah, as you mentioned, it is more difficult when you are in a comfortable position. I would say that there always gonna be something to improve. Uh, it is very difficult to keep a balance in the different like parts of our life. In and I'm talking about financially, in your family, um, I don't know, in your health. I think that in occasions it is very difficult to always keep like everything in line, in balance. So I would say that first of all we need to do an assessment in ourselves and see where we stand for, if it is correct to say.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think that there's gonna be always something new to practice or to get a habit. For example, you can have a good habit in I don't know, in going to the gym or in eating healthy, but probably you're not in a good financial position. So I would say that probably this person must to focus on the financial position because they correctly managed the health, the exercise, the habit. So so yeah, I would say that there's gonna be always something to improve. I think that it's impossible to always uh, be good in everything. I think that there always be something to work. But I
How do
shouldn't
we?
say, I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. Yes, Mickey. Thank you very much. I fully agree. Let me ask you a question then, and sorry to interrupt. How do you set out our priorities? How do we say this is priority, this is secondary? There are two, three, four priorities. Which are they normally that smart people should consider? Maybe they do already consider them. Which are they? Priorities.
Mm, well, I think that depends on the stage of life of the person. I would say that it's not the same my priority than a priority of a person of 50 years old to a priority of a person of 12, 13 years old. I think that depending of the age and of the maturity of the person too. But I think that priorities are always changing. I would say, for example, in my case, when I started going to the gym, I started at 16, like 15 or 16 years old. And in that moment, my priority in going to the gym was like to get to gain weight and have a better physique. And now that I'm at 20, 23, almost 24, I'm mostly, I'm like more focusing on get a better performance in other sports. I want to get, how can I say this? I have like more resistance and not just focusing on the physique. I'm more focused on get a resistance on running or on other things. So I would say that priorities are always changing and it's okay because uh, yeah, because I think that every stage of life has something to teach us or has something that we need to manage and it's okay because that means that you are improving.
Yeah, absolutely. You were a youngster, you were a young adolescent a couple of years ago, 3, 4, 5 years ago, and then your priorities have changed because now you're a young adult, and maybe, well, surely, not maybe, surely you will continue changing stages. And let's think of a man with the responsibility of a family, and then an adult, different stages in life. How do you think, or how do you envision the various responsibilities other people have? Let's talk about our parents' generation. So let's say our parents, parents, uh, generation. I
Hmm.
mean, your parents' generation is probably your dad and my age, right? Because we're your dad and me are about the same age. So
Yeah.
that generation, and let's talk about the generation of the grandparents' generation, which would be my parents' generation. How would you envision those responsibilities, Mickey? For example, how do you see the responsibilities of the parents of your friends? You have many friends, and these friends have parents. How do you see the responsibilities of their parents?
Hmm. Well, yeah, the first responsibility of them is their children, their family, like
Okay,
to being in a comfortable position. I
okay,
would say that they're like the responsibilities of of the majority of of parents. I would say
yeah,
to maintain their family in a, yeah, in a comfort zone. I would say because they don't want to suffer. And in occasions, I have seen that people want to achieve that because probably in the past they don't have like the same lucky. So in a way, they want to give a better life than the life that they had.
right. Yeah, and I believe that is totally valid, and it's something you would like to praise, right? Something praisable.
Yeah, of course.
Praise, praise, praise. You praise that. Um, okay. However, I've seen parents who lack the motivation or the strength or the discipline or the vision or simply the means to fully uh, develop or grow or make their families grow. How can they be helped? Or how can, let's see, what's the question? Yeah, I wonder you have seen this. Some of your friends have parents who, yeah, God willing, they're all successful, but a couple of them maybe will not,
Hmm.
and they lack something: motivation, strength, discipline, vision, or simply the
Hmm.
means or the opportunities.
Hmm.
What have you seen?
Yeah, I have seen those cases, and at least for me, it's very sad to see because the decision of, well, in this case of two people, of a couple of, mom and dad, it affects in occasions so many the generations after that because then kids grow with a lack of something. In occasions is a, yeah, until lack of education, lack of the basic needs. In occasions I have seen cases where I remember one time in the primary that there were always a kid that the kid never had lunch to eat. And when I was when I was primary, I remember that it was when I had like 7 or 8 years old. For me, it was like difficult to understand like why their parents don't have, or they don't give like something to this kid to eat. And and yeah, well, if I was thinking that and it wasn't my case, I don't know what could be this guy thinking. So I don't know. In occasions, there are patterns that people continue making through generations. Probably their parents, the parents of these kids, passed for the same, and they couldn't manage correctly, so they repeat it. And unfortunately, if this kid uh, wasn't aware of that, or is not aware of that, probably this kid gonna repeat it too. So yeah, I think that there are like circles that in occasions we need to like break, because if we don't are aware of that, it is possible that we're gonna repeat it.
Okay. You're mentioning something that kind of closes all the conversation that we're talking about, because we talk about good and bad habits, and you're saying something extremely important, which is that these bad habits can go from generation to generation,
Yeah.
and it's sad, and it's a continuation, because we've not been able to become aware of those issues, right? They become like scars that
Hmm.
continue from generation to generation, and we're not able to solve them because you correctly pointed out we're not able to see them.
Hmm.
So let's say that my grandmother had this little bad thing about the family, and then she followed that through my dad, and then to me, and then I says, "Oh man, there are so many nice things in the family, but this is one thing that we haven't noticed, and now it's time to notice it, so that I don't transmit this issue to the next generation." So that awakening can happen. How can that happen? I mean, it's a great concept, but my grandma had it. She didn't see it. My dad had it. He didn't see it. Now I a little bit kind of got it, but only now I woke up. I got awakened. How
Yeah.
can that be?
Uh, it is difficult. I think that depending of the, because every every example I would say that is different. I think that depending, but uh, in occasions we are aware until we are suffering, or we are seeing that someone else is suffering that like I don't know. For example, there are so many families that don't have communication in their families, and probably when someone is kid is not aware of that, probably it's like why my parents are not passing time with me, or why we don't talk about this or that. And I think that when you are getting older, you start to see other families, other experiences, and that's when you realize that okay, probably this is not something good, or this is something that now that I'm aware I can change, or or not repeat in a yeah in a future generation, I would say. But I would say, but I think that in occasions it is important to not make like a comparison, but to see other cases. And when you see other cases, you have like other experiences, and you can see what is better, what is not. I think.
Right. In this case, like the book says, breaking a bad habit. Uh, I am really getting to like this book, because it says there are some internal driving forces that shape our behavior. But also, there are some external factors that influence our behavior, and then we can develop or establish cues. We can develop or establish cues. And he gave us a very good example. It says, let's suppose that I need to do exercise in the mornings. Well, I need to have this cue, right? I need to have this
Mhm.
prompt that tells me time to do exercise. What do I do? Well, I place my exercise clothing next to my bed. So the first thing that I see when I wake up, the sports jacket. I need to go to the gym, right?
Go to the
Or
gym.
the swimming suit. Oh, time to go swimming. Yeah, I better do that. So these cues that give you an insight, that give you a prompt to
Hmm.
do this one activity that is the first thing we need to do in the morning or during the afternoon or during the day,
Hmm.
is in our reach, in our neighborhood, in the neighborhood, right? So that is an external cue that impulses you or motivates you to do this or that. What do you think about that concept, Mickey?
Yeah, I completely agree. I think that I don't know. For example, there are people who have like uh, this habit and a bad habit of don't drinking water. But if the first thing that you see when you wake up is a bottle of water, it's like, okay, I need to remember that I need to drink water. And occasions, the same bottles, you know, that there are like little signs like, yeah, you are start to drinking water. Now you're in the half of the way. Now you finish. So I think that yeah, in occasions we need to have like this external factor that uh, in a way make us like being present and understand that okay, if we want to change or we would want to acquire a new habit, a good habit, I need to do this, or will be easier if, for example, another case, I want to get on a diet, I want to eat healthier. Okay, I'm not gonna have chips on the shell, or I'm not gonna have sodas on my house. Okay, I need to remove those external factors in a way that I just have like good things to eat. So it's gonna be much easier to keep in track on the diet that I want to do.
That's a great idea. Okay, now let's talk about removing bad habits. For example, I had a bad habit of checking my cell phone when I was with my friend. So one day I said, "Well, this is happening over and over. I'm gonna leave the cell phone in the car. When I go visit, I don't take the phone with me. It has to create such a great atmosphere because now I don't get distracted by the cell phone. Um, so that was a way to avoid or to minimize this bad habit of being interrupted by the cell phone every 5 10 minutes or being distracted by it. So other examples like that, Mickey, that come to your mind.
Let me think. Well, I have another bad habit that is that the first thing that I do after wake up is see my cell phone. So what I did is instead of have my cell phone next to me, next to my bed, because normally I have a connector there, a connection, so I always are like charging my cell phone there. What I did is that I took my cell phone another room, so in a way I feel tired, so I'm not gonna wake up and go for the cell phone. I have a instead of the cell phone, I have a little book or my Kindle. So the first thing that I do is read instead of taking my cell phone, and yeah, because for example, what I normally I'm gonna say did what I normally did is like look the messages on my clients, look my emails, and yeah, probably it's for work, but then they're gonna appear something in social media that you're gonna be attracted, or you're gonna see stories on Instagram. So you're losing time and you're losing the focus that you have. So what I did is that I put myself in another place, not next to my bed, and now I'm taking my Kindle or some book to read instead of seeing myself.
Okay, very good. Excellent, Mickey. That's a great idea. I praise it. How about people that go to bed late? I know a lot, and I am one of them. uh, how do you? I mean, I'm sure there are people who go to bed early. I have one brother that is like a bird. As soon as it gets dark, he says, I'm going to bed," just like that, like a clock. He acquired this habit since he was a kid, and he wakes up at 5 4 6 and starts working on the computer because he says that's the best time for him to work. He doesn't get distracted. He's very quiet. There is no noise. So starts writing his essays and his research, and he's very proficient and very successful, mainly thanks to this good habit, but he's got also many other good habits. But how do you break this bad habit of going to bed late and waking up early?
Yeah. Mm, I would say that in my case, something that helps me to go to bed early, and in occasions because I don't normally, well, I'm not always doing it. Is left my cell phone like at least 1 hour away, of 2 hours away of the hour that I want to go to bed. Because in occasions when you're still connected to your cell phone, in a way you are connected to the to the globalization in general. So you have so many um, like impulses in your cell phone, so many uh, there are always news, there are always something new to see, whatever. So what I try to do is to let myself at least 1 hour away of the hour that I want to go to bed, and yeah, it is helping me. And something that I try to do too is to don't eat my dinner like a half an hour away of the hour that I want to go to bed, because you feel like you feel full, you don't feel comfortable to go to bed. So I would say that at least you need to left 1 hour and a half or 2 hours before go to bed, before of the last meal that you have eaten. I would say that that would be another advice.
Okay, that's a great idea. Some people, I had a cousin who loved meditating. When I broke my Achilles tendon, I was in my aunt's house in Irapuato, and there was my cousin, and she had this good practice of. She started playing this meditational music, and she said that it worked fine. It worked wonders for her. So this I don't know if this is exactly the priming, but some people do this priming, this self hypnosis of getting into a state, not necessarily to sleep, but for many other things.
Hmm.
For example, uh, if you want to, let's say that you one of your friends, or you want to become more energetic, more active, more dynamic, more boisterous, more noisy, etc., people would place signs or ads near your room, like run, jump, be energetic, work hard, etc. These are prompts that, well, precisely prompt or entice energetic movements, right? Like when you
Hmm.
go to the gym, you go to the gym. I'm sure you see lots of signs like uh, gain the strength. If you want, you can. Some motivational phrases, right?
Yeah.
Most of the gyms do that to prompt the worker to get into this energetic movement.
Hmm.
And some offices in England, in Canada, and Europe in general, they want to motivate their officers to be more honest. So they say honesty is the way. They are giving a prize or a reward to the person who behave in an honest way, etc., etc., etc. So this word of priming, setting the environment, I believe, has deserves more recognition that we actually give it. What do you think of this concept of priming, Mickey? And how would you use it with yourself, with friends, in an environment to motivate or prime people into certain positive behaviors?
Uh, yeah, I think that it's important, like this external motivation. As you mentioned, perhaps in these cases where you're in the gym and I don't know, it has like pictures of people that is in a good shape. In a way,
Right.
yeah, it's for the same. It's like to try to motivate you. I would say that it's okay. That it's a good way to, uh, yeah, in occasions like to do the things that you need to do. Um, yeah, I think that it's something good. But I think that in occasions something that I have noticed, for example, not in the gym, but in other in other things, in other activities. For example, you know that there are so many people that makes motivational videos about finance, about money, about your relationship with money. There are a lot of books. I
Right.
would say that are okay, but it is important to being aware that not because you're reading those books or not because you are listening to to those audios, to those motivational audios, you are doing something that is probably productive. Because in occasions, I think that at least for me, it's something that happened to me so many times. When you are reading or you are listening to this type of audios, in a way you think that you are doing like something productive, but in occasions you are really like getting the attention of what you need to do, just because you are like getting different, how can I say, like stimulus, different
Stimuli.
stimulus. Uh-huh. And in occasions you can feel like lose the track, I think. because you think that it's something productive, but there's a moment when you are listening to that in so many times that you are not doing what you need to do. You're just like receiving motivation, 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 and motivation without action. I would say that that it doesn't work.
That's very true. I fully agree. Yeah, sometimes, yeah, that's very true. I fully agree with you. Sometimes, it can substitute the yeah. I understand what you mean.
Like the
Instead of
action.
doing the action, instead of cooking, it's not the same reading a recipe about cooking than actually making the soup or the salad, right?
Exactly that. Yeah.
I can be
Hmm.
reading recipes and recipes and recipes and recipes and never even make a small salad.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's very important. Yeah, to act, to behave, to carry out our plans. Yeah, because they also say that continuous planning leads to stagnation. So we really need to get into action. That's very important. Get into action.
Exactly.
That's fundamental. Fully agree. Let me share with you some of the AI specifications about priming and how officials can be primed to do more for society. Let's read the first part. It's very small. Can we, Mickey, please, and then share if we agree with them or not?
Yeah. Using priming to improve social programs. Priming can be a powerful tool to design and implement more effective social programs, ensuring that citizens engage with them positively, and that governments prioritize social welfare. Here's how priming can be applied to different social policy areas.
Right. Let's see a couple of them.
Mhm. Priming citizens to engage with social programs. Default enrollment, opt out instead of opt in. Making social benefits automatic increases participation. Example, in countries where people are automatically enrolled in pension plans unless they opt out, participation rates are much higher.
Right. Another idea that I was thinking of was asking students or youngsters to plant trees as a standard plan, not as an option. In other words, if you ask students, well, today we're going to do our physical education. Okay, great. What are we going to do? Instead of jumping and running and going somewhere, let's just plant 10 trees today. And next week, we're going to plant 10 more and 10 more. So, planting trees automatically or similar. What do you think of this, Mickey?
Yeah, of course. I think that when people uh, is like really involved, it's much easier that people gonna participate. Not, yeah, I have seen cases where I don't know there are like conventions or we need to do that, but if people is not really involved in that, it's very difficult to really attract people. So, so yeah, I would say that it's a good way to get the attention of people.
Yeah. Another thing is that what we used to do in primary school that was growing a bean in a piece of cotton. That was great when we did it. We were in primary school. I remember. Remember this, Mickey? Did you ever grow?
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, of course.
what do you think of this idea? Why it didn't continue throughout secondary school, preparatory, and even university?
Hmm. Yeah, I think that it's something nice because uh, in occasions when you are a kid, you're not aware of why there are trees. You're not really wondering why they exist. You know that they probably give you like oxygen, and it helps to many things, but you're not really aware of that. Um, but when you are planting, in this case, a little bean in a piece of cotton, you start seeing how it's growing, how with water, how with careful, starts to get stronger and stronger. And I think that it's much easier to being, um, in a way, like attached to take care of the environment because you're aware of the process of that. So I would say that it's a good way to, well, in this case, that is like engage with social programs. It's a good way that to attract the attention of people to really involve them, I would say.
Right. Another thing that I think is also, thank you, Mickey. I think that it's also very important to be able to grow small plants, edible plants, edible plants, something that you can eat, like
Hmm.
basil, mint, plants or spices, right? Mint, uh, rosemary, and many other spices. They're good for your health, and it creates a habit. Even in a small house, I think children should learn how to grow small plants. But we we don't do this, and I'm totally convinced that we should be able to, at least from time to time, develop home farms, family farms. I think the
Yeah.
concept of family farms is widely adopted in China, should also be part of the Mediterranean countries. What's your take on this? What's your opinion, Mickey, about
Hmm.
family farms?
Yeah. I would say that it is a great idea because that will makes you like, how can I say this?
Self-sufficient?
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yeah, and it gives you a lot of advantages in general because you are aware of different things. Uh, yeah, I would say that it's a great idea.
Uh, how could it be implemented? Let's say through schools, maybe through schools, right?
Yeah, I would say that the first step is implemented in schools, and I would say that the schools needs to implement it themselves too because in occasions, yeah, you need to take a bean in a piece of cotton and you need to take care. But if the school doesn't have trees, how is how is possible that people's gonna well that kids gonna have like this well yeah in a way like contact with nature in a deeper way if the same school don't have like the tools to do that, you know?
Yeah, that's true. That's true. So there should be. It says that charity begins with oneself, right?
Exactly, yeah, like predict with example.
Right. Yes, yes, yes. You
Hmm.
need to preach with the example. You said the example instead of preaching
Hmm.
uh, without doing, you preach, and the best preach is example. That's very true.
That's bridge example. Exactly. Yeah.
All right. And then another concept which I find very interesting, very compelling, is that of uh, setting the frame, right? You frame benefits and as rights. These benefits are rights that people have. Is not charity. It's not charity, right? They deserve it. They deserve to have these benefits. It's not that we're doing charity programs.
Hmm.
How do you see this, Mickey? Framing it as a right, not as charity.
Yeah, it is important because in a way you are like changing the mindset of the people, understanding that that is like uh, you are receiving this because is are like your rights or you have the right to do this instead of okay, here's the perfect example. Instead of this program is part of your social rights, I would say that in occasions uh, the way in how you say the things are more important than the message in general. So you need to really think in the way how you're gonna say it, how you're gonna present it, because depending on the way how you present is gonna be the higher or lower engagement that you're gonna have, that you're gonna receive from the people.
Right. For example, this one, thank you, Mickey. This one is very
Yeah.
important for me because I was raised with the constant priming phrase, negative priming phrase that, well, Mexicans are like that. Mexicans don't help each other. Mexicans, this and that. And that gives you a negative priming.
Hmm.
Whereas if we were taught as children to say, Mexicans help each other, Mexicans are creative, Mexicans are disciplined, if they rephrase and frame that positively, that will increase the odds that you help each other. So, for
Hmm.
example, this is a great example. Messaging like 80% of families in your community use this program, you're going to be motivated to use it too.
Yeah, of course.
If we started to say, well, new Mexicans, new generations are helping each other much more, that's what's going to happen. Well, that's going to lead to the conviction in younger people to help each other more because they say, oh, this is the trend. This is the trend
Exactly.
that we help each other much more than our parents or grandparents' generation.
Hmm.
So people start helping each other more if we frame it in the lexicon, in the jargon, in the vocabulary. What do you think of this idea, Mickey?
Yeah, of course, because in that way makes people like feel more part of that, or that they need to be part of that. It's okay, if people is doing this is for one reason. We need to know what is the reason. Here's the perfect example: 80% of families in your community use this program. So probably the people who is not part of this program is like wondering, wow, if there's 80% of people of this community in the program, there must be a reason. So in a way, you feel at least interested, you know. At least you're gonna
Ex-
research about it, and at least it's very possible that you're gonna want to participate because
Exactly.
there's
There
a
is
good amount.
this psychological and social evidence that's been
Hmm.
studied through researchers, through research, that
Yeah.
social proof
Hmm.
invites and motivates people, encourages people to do the same thing as others are doing.
Exactly. Yeah.
So if you frame it in a positive message like this, 80% of
Hmm.
families, 80% of 90% of young adolescents,
Hmm.
entrepreneurs are starting to help each other much more, are starting to be more creative, are
Hmm.
starting to become more productive, more efficient, more honest, more this, more that. If we are able to frame that, it'll convince younger generations to become better and to do better. I'm convinced of that, and I'm sure that you will engage in, you will sympathize with this idea, Mickey, don't you?
Yeah. Yeah. Completely. Yeah. It's like as you mentioned, like as a psychological factor that makes people at least being or feel interested, or why if there's a good amount, a good percentage of people doing this or being part of this, is for one reason. So consequently,
Right.
you're gonna look up and do a research, and at least you are interested in the program. In this case,
Yeah, that's very true. Well, we started talking about habits, how they shape
habits.
our behavior, how we create them, how we destroy bad habits, and everything seems to be like part of a circle, right, Mickey?
Yeah, yeah, exactly, teacher. Thank you very much for your time, as always.
Appreciate it, Mickey, as usual. Thank you very much. Very nice conversations as usual. Thank you and see you soon.
Yeah, teacher. See you soon. Take care.
Take care,
Have an
Mickey. Have a
excellent
wonderful
day.
week.
You
Goodbye.
too. Thank you
Thank
very
you. Take
much.
care. Bye. Bye. Thanks.
Thank you.